Today I'm pleased to announce that we are completing Step 2 in our path forward. Last week I announced a partial move into Step 2. It was at that time that I announced that we safely eased restrictions on libraries and indoor fitness, but delayed other changes. And we did this because it was the right move. Cases and positivity rates had increased a bit, and we wanted more time to assess the spread and make sure that we weren't seeing a rapid increases of cases throughout the province. The time is right to keep moving safely forward. And at the same time, there are reasons for us to remain cautious. We're not seeing the same sharp decline in cases that we saw in December. Cases have plateaued. And we still have to consider carefully how to get the balance right. But I believe that this step, the remainder of Step 2 today, is safe. Effective immediately, we're completing Step 2 and easing restrictions, which will mean a little bit more freedom for Albertans. First, we're expanding the capacity limit for the retail sector. All retail settings, including shopping malls, can increase their customers from 15% to 25% of fire code occupancy. And this change applies as well to individual stores as well as the common areas like hallways and food courts. Starting today, we're also expanding the Step 1 restrictions that apply to youth and including members of college and university athletic programs. Now, this means that lessons, practices, and physical conditioning are allowed for these programs with a maximum of 10 participants in total, including coaches, trainers, and participants. And remember, physical distancing has to be maintained between participants at all times. Everyone should be masked at all times, except during the actual training activity. As well, we're easing restrictions for child, youth, and adult performances so that folks, individuals, and groups can now rehearse and perform in preparation for filming or live streaming of a performance. And child and youth performances, and this includes dancing, it includes singing, theater, and playing wind instruments, must follow the same restrictions for youth sport, performance, and recreational activities in Step 1. This includes a maximum of 10 people, mandatory masking at all times, and 3-meter distancing between all participants. As well, no spectators or in-person audiences are allowed for any type of activity. Now, adult performers, whether solo or in groups, have a lot of the same restrictions. A maximum of 10 people, mandatory masking, 3-meter physical distancing between everyone, and no audiences. However, larger indoor film productions and other performances will be permitted, provided that there is no audience and they submit an approved plan that follows strict protocols. This includes regular testing as well for everyone included. And this will allow projects like filming movies, filming television shows to occur, provided that they implement proven steps to stop transmission. And finally, banquet halls, community halls, conference centers, and hotels. They can now open for all of the activities that are permitted under Steps 1 and Step 2. That includes hosting permitted performance activities, wedding ceremonies with up to 10 people, and funeral services with up to 20 people. Now, note that funeral receptions, wedding receptions, or trade shows are still not permitted in any venue. Today's announcement includes a lot of information, and remember that alberta.ca will have the details posted to help you understand what's been changed. I want to reassure all Albertans that this is a careful step, it's a cautious step, and we must and we will always be responsible. Though we are easing the restrictions in these sectors, strong measures remain in place to keep the risk of transmission in our community low. In terms of where we go from here, we'll be discussing Step 3 on March 22nd at the earliest. And this will give us time to see what impact, if any, these changes have on COVID-19 in Alberta.
I would like to recognize the efforts many Albertans have made to bring case numbers and hospitalizations down, bringing us to a place where more activities can be opened. But as mentioned, we are not yet in the clear. As I have said before, each time we ease restrictions, we increase opportunities for COVID-19 to spread if we do not continue to follow the important preventive measures required for each activity. So I would like to remind Albertans that easing restrictions does not mean that we can be less vigilant. When we continue to follow all measures in place, we protect one another, we protect our healthcare system, and we protect the progress that we have made this far. Turning to today's update, we have now administered about 297,600 doses of vaccine, and more than 91,000 Albertans are fully vaccinated with 2 doses. It's important to remember that protection from any vaccines, including those for COVID-19, doesn't happen overnight. It takes approximately 2 to 3 weeks for them to be effective. This means that if someone is exposed to the virus in the first week or 2 after immunization, they would not yet be protected, and they could still get sick. This is not a failure of the vaccine or the vaccine causing COVID-19 infection. It is just a matter of unfortunate timing. This reality makes following the public health measures very important, even for those who have been immunized. Over the last 24 hours, we have identified 278 new cases of COVID-19 and completed about 5,500 tests. This puts our positivity rate at about 5.4%. We have identified 6 new cases of the variant of concern, bringing our total to 659. Our R value province-wide is 0.95. It is promising to have an RT value below 1, but we must all continue to do our part to move from the plateau we are seeing to a continued downwards trend. There are currently active alerts or outbreaks in 251 schools, or about 10% of the schools in the province. Currently, these schools have a combined total of 961 cases since January 11th. There are 254 people in hospital for COVID-19 treatment, including 36 in the ICU. Sadly, 6 new deaths were reported to Alberta Health in the last 24 hours. Each life lost reminds us about the serious nature of this virus and the need to protect one another from it. As always, I extend my sympathies to all who are mourning a loss, no matter the cause.